This is my presentation. This is Lamont Green. I got a little audience, not the full 8. This is my presentation aid. Again, my name is Lamont Green, and this is my persuasive speech. Now, what's something many Americans love to do on their free time or just to make time pass by?
Video games.
Perfect, you're actually right. Today I'm going to prove to you that video games don't have a violent impact in today's society, and that it's actually something that shouldn't be discontinued over a few unfortunate events. Now, taking away video games because of violence isn't fair to the ones who just casually enjoy the gameplay or like to do it to make time pass by. Now, according to Science Daily, violent games do not cause players to act a certain way, and over 3,000 people were tested for this experiment through the method of priming. They were asked to play violent games and then to look at a series of pictures to see if violence caused their perspective to change. The results came back and it was deemed inconclusive that violence would alter their perspective with what they were looking at. Realism proved that it had no effect on the individual and their aggression when tested in the real world with puzzles and various words. An alternative method to test violence in games and the effect it has in the real world would be through the method of ragdoll physics. Ragdoll physics uses the method of having the students play the violent games, then they're asked to complete words with the first word that comes to their mind. CTV News did an article to where over 6,000 kids were tested for the study. The study proved that the students who were asked to play these games showed no additional signs of violent behavior when asked to pick the various words. So in this particular aspect, ragdoll physics knocks this accusation right out the park. Health Day actually did a great study proving that spending an hour or less on video games has an unexpected benefit compared to the ones who don't play at all. Individuals who regularly played less than an hour a day of any type of game were less likely than their non-playing peers to get into a fight or bullying, and were rated as being better behaved by their teachers. The study shows that in small doses, gameplay can be very beneficial and benefits the students in class tremendously. Change the slide for you. Whitney DeCamp did an awesome study where he found that there's an insignificant relationship between the two topics of violence in video games and aggression. A study proved within 6,567 8th graders that no matter how bloody the video games were, it didn't predict violent behaviors within the students. The study also proved that games do benefit kids by keeping them out of trouble and off the streets. With violence, there are many factors that can also come into play. And although a violent person may play these games, it usually comes down to the individual's mental state of mind when committing these acts. Having lack of self-control is generally something that causes an individual to commit a violent act. Self-control is key to a well-functioning life because our brain makes us easily susceptible to all sorts of influences when an individual is playing a game. Lacks of self-control may make them more inclined to commit a violent act, but at the end of the day, you couldn't put the blame on the game, but rather the individual because they're the ones lacking the self-control. That causes them to commit these violent acts. So rather than take away the fun from everyone, maybe additional measures should be evaluated when the games are being sold to the people. This violence in video game matter was actually brought up to the Supreme Court. The court ruled that there's too much information lacking in findings that video games cause violence. There's about a 0.15% correlation that happens with violence that has anything to do with the video games. Some of the other issues that help the Supreme Court and their influence would be problems over how aggression is actually measured, the possibility of publication biases, and then again the problem of small effect sizes and the 0.15% correlation is just not high enough to put a ban on any video game. Research has proven video games have improved many individuals' everyday life. Now, let me help you visualizing and enhancing your life by doing so. There are 4 great benefits that games can bring us. The first benefit video games brings us would be by improving our memory and sustained attention skills. Our cognitive functions often becomes impaired or begins to decline as we age, and researchers think it's because the connections between your brain cells are changing, but keeping your mind engaged, stimulated, and active can improve your brain health. And this can be improved by playing video games regularly. Another beneficial way games can enhance our everyday life rather than manifest violence would be by reducing feelings of depression and loneliness. Older adults can get a mood boost by picking up a video game controller too. A 2010 study presented at the Gerontological Society of Americans annual scientific meeting found that individuals who played an hour a week or more felt being in a state of a more positive mind and having fewer feelings of loneliness. Another positive benefit video games enhance for us would be by bettering our balance and reflexes. The computer games used in the study focused on improving memory, spatial navigation, and your decision-making skills on top of that. You see the many ways video games benefits us and how they don't lead to violence. And the last way video games can improve our everyday life would be by enhancing our vision. Despite the commonly held belief that screens hurt your eyes, video and computer games might actually improve your vision. A 2012 study published in Seeing and Perceiving found that seniors with cataracts who played first-person shooter games, such as Halo or Call of Duty, for a month showed signs of improved vision. First-person shooter games force players to move their eyes quickly to track objects and react to sudden events in the game, and are also believed to increase dopamine and adrenaline, both of which help keep the brain active. You see the many ways video games benefit us and how they don't lead to violence. Now, picture yourself clearing your head while playing the game, getting away from the real world. Picture yourself having so much fun for your sadness or depression you're experiencing is being lifted right off your shoulders, and everyone should get a system and start having fun. In closing, I've shown you studies that back how video games don't have enough evidence to support that it causes real-world violence. I've also shown you how it can enhance your everyday life rather than affect it negatively. Now go ahead and pick up that controller and game on and stop worrying about the simple things in life.